spent close to 155 million at the Mandeville Regional Hospital. We have spent close to 134 million at the Cornwall Regional Hospital. We have spent over 90 million at Anoto Bay Hospital.
Infrastructure development was a major undertaking for the Ministry of Health in 2014. And later in the show, we highlight those and other high points as we review the sector's last calendar year. Plus a look at the UDC and its work in transforming the new Forum Fishing Village. Welcome to an information-filled edition of Jamaica Magazine. Carrie-Ann Smith is the name, and I'll be your guide for the next half hour. We begin with a timely reminder and the news.
This is my appeal, Jamaica. Give blood for it.
Give blood and give the gift of life. So safe you don't have to think twice. Do what you can for one another.
Yeah, man.
Be a hero, be a blood donor.
Yeah, me people. Watch it. Give blood. For your sister and your brother, save the life of another. You might never know.
Give blood.
Cause you know my life, you love many people, one blood. The Father says so.
One blood.
Sign up today. Be a blood donor. Many people, one blood.
Good day, I'm Andrea Chisholm and this is your JIS News for Thursday, January 8. Customers of the Jamaica Public Service Company, JPS, should benefit from a slight reduction in electricity rates approved by the Office of Utilities Regulation, OUR. A release from the JPS says the company is still reviewing the decision handed down Wednesday, but the reduction should work out to about 2%. The decision comes after months of deliberation on the JPS's application for an increase in the non-fuel rates. On Thursday, JPS said it was too early to say how the reduction in electricity rates would impact its operations. The power company added that they remained committed to customers and would continue exploring available options to provide cheaper electricity. In the meantime, JPS says its customers are likely to continue benefiting from the reduction in oil prices. In 2014, electricity bills decreased by about 20% as a result of the decrease in world oil prices. Police Commissioner Dr. Carl Williams is assuring the nation that law enforcers will do everything possible to prevent an increase in criminal activities. At a press conference on Wednesday, the Commissioner said 24 murders had been reported for the first 6 days of the year.
We have already deployed additional JCF resources to areas most severely affected like Spanish Town and environs and St. James, particularly Montego Bay. We are being fully supported by the JDF in this endeavor.
Dr. Williams added that the police had credible intelligence on the persons committing the murders and would implement measures to apprehend and convict those persons. The work will also continue to eliminate gangs and their facilitators, while community policing initiatives will be strengthened.
We will increase our general operational thrust by redeploying officers from non-geographic and non-operational sections. But whatever we do, we will demonstrate the utmost respect for human rights and human dignity.
And the police are anticipating that over 500 persons will be charged under the Law Reform Fraudulent Transactions Special Provisions Act, popularly called the Anti-Lotto Scam Bill, by the end of the year.
So far, we have about 26 persons charged under the legislation that are currently in court, and we're pursuing 400 more investigations under the legislation.
DCP Glenmere Hines added that the police would also be targeting 21 guns for drugs syndicates operating in the country. He also urged individuals not to embrace criminal gangs in their communities.
Because even if they are protecting that community, they are going to wrong other persons from other communities. And the common saying, if you can't catch Kwaku, you catch him short. Many persons, innocent victims, have been killed by criminal gangs only because they were related in some way, shape or form to persons who are involved in gang activities.
The Labour Ministry will be intensifying activities to identify and prosecute persons involved in employment scams across the island. This comes on the heels of several reports of unscrupulous individuals offering to find jobs overseas for unsuspecting persons. Portfolio Minister Derek Kelly is again urging the public to be vigilant when searching for jobs.
Do not engage with any persons who offer you jobs abroad unless you check with the Ministry of Labour and Social Security first to make sure that they are registered with the employment agencies that the ministry gives sanction to.
Minister Kellier was addressing the first batch of farm workers who left the island on Tuesday to participate in the Overseas Employment Program in Canada. And finally, the Ministry of Education and the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management ODPEM will be increasing the number of earthquake drills in schools so that students and staff will be better prepared for the natural disaster. Director of Safety and Security in Schools, Sergeant Minto, says bulletins are currently being sent out.
Whilst we pray and hope that we will not have an earthquake, if on the other hand we do, we are confident that the school's officials are prepared to handle same.
Sergeant Minto was addressing Tuesday's launch of Earthquake Awareness Month. Later this month, ODPEM and the ministry will roll out an emergency preparedness and response plan competition in schools. And that's it for JIS News today. I'm Andrea Chisholm. Thank you for watching.
The Ebola virus is transmitted through direct contact with an infected person's blood or other bodily fluids like saliva, urine, stool, and semen. Symptoms of Ebola include sudden fever, intense weakness, muscle pain, headache, and sore throat. This may be followed by vomiting, diarrhea, and rash, and in some cases both internal and external bleeding, leading to death. Protect yourself. Avoid travel to Ebola-affected countries. Avoid contact with infected persons. Don't touch the body of someone who has died from Ebola. Wash hands frequently with soap and water and use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer. To know more, call 1-888-663-5683.
The Ministry of Health did a lot of work in 2014 to bring quality health care to Jamaicans. Several health centers were upgraded, the new JOJ health card was introduced, and critical policies implemented to bring about further improvements. Get the full review right now.
We intend to ensure that our health facilities are able to cope with the growing needs of the Jamaican population.
That commitment sets out the core mission of the Ministry of Health in 2014. This is the year in review. As part of the mission to facilitate human capital development in 2014, government completed Phase 1 of construction on the final 2 of 4 promised primary healthcare centers of excellence.
All have been officially opened. Jamaicans are now enjoying the upgraded and improved facilities that they offer.
Phase 2 of the project on all 4 centers of excellence, which includes additional infrastructure improvement and acquisition of equipment, began in the year. Other primary healthcare centers also received significant infrastructure improvements in the past calendar year. Among them, a new Type 2 health center constructed at James Hill in Clarendon at a cost of $41 million. The Rocky Point Health Center in Clarendon, rebuilt and equipped at a cost of $32 million. The Williamsfield Health Center in Westmoreland, upgraded at a cost of $8 million. And the Trinityville Health Center in St. Thomas, refurbished at a cost of $3.5 million. Government also signed a $51 million contract to renovate and equip the Nannyville Health Center in St. Andrew. Secondary healthcare facilities were also improved in 2014.
We spent close to $155 million at the Mandeville Regional Hospital. We have spent close to $134 million at the Cornwall Regional Hospital. We have spent over $90 million at Anoto Bay Hospital.
In November, 5 major projects completed at the Mandeville Regional Hospital were handed over. Government also spent $68 million expanding and upgrading several sections of the Accident and Emergency Department of the Maypen Hospital. $31 million went towards refurbishing the Port Maria Hospital's operating theatre.
This facility is in line with the vision that we have for the development of secondary care infrastructure in the public sector.
The Sentence Bay Regional Hospital received a new female medical ward, while $85.8 million was spent improving the Princess Margaret Hospital. $9.4 million of upgrading was done on the Sir John Golding Hospital, and $54.4 million was spent on development work at the Noel Holmes Hospital.
They spent $70.2 million at Port Antonio Hospital. They have spent $13.35 million at the Black River Hospital. And we have reached and have completed tender to start spending $51 million at the Linstead Hospital.
The ministry also began work on a $389 million project to build environmentally friendly sewage treatment plants at 6 health facilities. And 10 ambulances were ordered to improve emergency health services. In the last calendar year, the Ministry of Health also introduced modern solutions to Jamaica's healthcare system. Island-wide use of the GOJ Health Card began, giving users of public health facilities a number of benefits, including greater access to services, savings, and reduced waiting time for registration. The pilot phase of an electronic patient administration system for the public health sector also started.
Speedy access to records will definitely translate to improved care and resource optimization.
The health sector benefited from strong public-private partnerships in 2014. Several local and overseas donors gifted millions of dollars in medical supplies. Intra-governmental partnerships also took place, including in March when the Health Ministry gave the Ministry of National Security an ambulance to transport wounded law enforcement officers. After 2 years of preparation, surveillance and vector control measures were heightened in July 2014 at the first confirmed case of chikungunya in Jamaica.
We conduct what we call a blitz operation, meaning that we do 3 consecutive nights of fogging to kill any adult mosquitoes which might be in the area, as well as the other larvicidal work. And we also look for breeding sites and destroy them.
A $500 million national cleanup campaign was commissioned by Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller to help address the chikungunya outbreak. Meanwhile, the country implemented an Ebola preparedness plan in the wake of an outbreak in West Africa. Numerous interventions were carried out, including Ebola-specific training for key personnel, public education, and acquisition of equipment to help in monitoring and surveillance. In 2014, the Health Ministry advanced work to attack the 4 main risk factors for non-communicable diseases, NCDs.
Tobacco use, unhealthy diet, physical inactivity, and the harmful use of alcohol.
The Health Minister announced that a national alcohol policy would be developed to prevent the abuse of hard liquor. Meanwhile, key amendments to the Public Health Tobacco Control Regulations 2013 were affirmed by Parliament, including lowered fines for breaches. The ministry also finalized its revised food-based dietary guidelines to get more persons to eat appropriate proportions of the various food groups.
In addition to these interventions, we'll also be looking at ways to get the population to reduce their consumption of fats, sugar, and salt, and increase physical activity.
Government also remained focused on improving cancer care. A dedicated anti-cancer laboratory was launched at the University of the West Indies, Mona, and a nearly $5,000 subsidy was provided to offset the cost of an important test for breast cancer patients. The breast cancer receptor studies is done at the pathology lab of the University Hospital of the West Indies. More efficient management of the healthcare system, public-private partnerships, and building systems of excellence. The Ministry of Health in 2014, supporting human capital development.
There is no vaccine for the chikungunya virus. If you've been infected, take paracetamol such as Panadol, Cetamol, and Tylenol to reduce pain and fever. Sleep under mosquito netting and get plenty of rest. Take showers or sponge baths in room temperature water to lower fever, especially in children, and drink lots of fluids to prevent dehydration. If your symptoms worsen, go and see a doctor. Do not take aspirin as this could cause bleeding, and never use rubbing alcohol. To learn more, call 1-888-1-LOVE. That's 1-888-663-5683.
Using the public health approach to tackle the epidemic of violence.
The greatest predictor of a case of violence is a previous case of violence.
And so in 2014, the National Security Ministry used a three-pronged strategy to arrest the disease called crime. Tune in to Jamaica Magazine this Friday, January 9 for the year in review and catch a recap of activities that led to a 16% reduction in serious and violent crimes.
The Urban Development Corporation, UDC, continues to make development happen in communities across the island. One of their most recent projects is the relocation of the Forum Fishing Village to a new site in Portmore St. Catherine. As we hear in the next feature, it offers greater prospects for earnings and business opportunities. The Urban Development Corporation, in association with the Jamaica Information Service, presents Urban Scope. Portmore, also known as the Sunshine City, is poised to benefit from improved economic opportunities with the Urban Development Corporation UDC construction of a new fishing village, the new Forum Fishing Village.
Look on the fish in a me dish, you like it. Look on the fish in a me pot, you can have it like a snapper, butter, tuna.
Originally located on the nearby Forum Beach, the relocation was prompted by the UDC's sale of the Forum Hotel in January 2014 to Portmore Marina Development Limited. Concerned about the fate of the fishermen and commercial operators, the UDC's board and management initiated a search for an ideal location as the new site for the fishing village.
We looked at several sites within the vicinity of the Portmore area, and Sector M, which is a UDC-owned property on Port Henderson Road, was seen as the most appropriate. And so the UDC technical team set out to develop a design that was appropriate for all the different activities that would take place at the new fishing village on Sector M.
To ensure proper planning and environmental standards were put in place, the corporation held talks with the Portmore Municipal Council and other agencies such as the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries and the National Environment and Planning Agency. During the relocation process, fishermen and the business operators were updated regularly on the progress through a series of meetings. The UDC used the opportunity to share the design layout for the new fishing village, which includes gear sheds for storage of equipment, an area for fish scaling, a mooring section, as well as an on-site fuel storage area. In addition, there are separate bathrooms and shower facilities, proper parking accommodation, a garbage collection area, and an approved sewage disposal system. The facility also boasts units of varying sizes to accommodate commercial operators from the previous location. And what are the views of the occupants?
People don't normally embrace change, but this change is far better. When it comes to fishing, we want yes to be the number one.
We have a clean environment, up and running. The facilities are right.
Work on the new Forum Fishing Village is at an advanced stage of completion.
I would say that the project has been successful. The fishermen and other occupiers are relocating well.
With a focus to improve business operation, the UDC introduced occupants of the new fishing village to representatives from Credit Scotia who shared credit services offered by the bank.
The fish pots, the fishing gears, these are some of the things that we lend for. For those businesses also that operates the grocery shop, you want to start adding beverages, we lend for that as well.
The new Forum Fishing Village is anticipated to be an advantage to the Portmore community in a number of ways.
Well, there's a lot to earn from this new site, you know, because you see, to home, the site set up right around here in Port Henderson, are the most beautiful place where people are ready to come out, come spend their money.
It's an upliftment, a community upliftment, you know, and you know, it makes the business look better, you know, and more secure.
We have a lot of people who are willing now to help, such as the bank, the loan people. Everybody's coming in, so we're all for it.
The new Forum Fishing Village, raising the standard of environmental and sanitation best practices. The facility is open daily and has 24-hour security.
We hope that this project will be a model as to how we go about upgrading our fishing villages across the country and also how we do relocation.
The Urban Development Corporation, making development happen in communities across Jamaica. To learn more about the work of the Urban Development Corporation, call 656-8031 or visit their website at udcja.com. You may also follow them on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, or visit their information center on the ground floor, Kingston Mall, downtown Kingston. Urban Scope was brought to you by the Urban Development Corporation in association with the Jamaica Information Service.
Life is all about making decisions, choosing from a number of options to do a particular thing, which may result in a specific outcome.
It can be difficult, but there are 4 things you can do to help make that decision.
Stop. Check out what's happening and remind yourself to think before acting.
Think. Make sure you're aware of the choices, all the advantages and disadvantages. Then think about the consequences.
Act. Choose the best option and do something about it.
Review.
Finally, review what you have done and determine if it was good or bad. That way, you'll be in a better position to make the next decision, whether big or simple.
Up next, the benefits of protected agriculture.
All this can be a thing of the past with the implementation of protected agriculture. There is nothing more pleasing to a farmer than to see the beauty of his crops. A few years ago, farmers in Jamaica were affected to a great extent by the tomato yellowleaf curl virus, commonly known as the Jerry curl virus. This resulted in severe crop loss. But with the aid of protected agriculture, farmers now have the option of growing plants in a more controlled environment. This structure, known as a greenhouse, offers a way to protect plants from the external environment risks, such as pest and disease infestation or severe weather conditions. The Ministry of Agriculture, through its Bodles Research Station, has been helping farmers with the use of this technology to have better yields on their crops. And a useful technology it is. The material used is a protective mesh that can keep out the smallest of insects, such as aphids, also called plant lice. These small sap-sucking insects are destructive pests to cultivated plants. The double door feature is another way of controlling insects from getting inside. This is recommended for every greenhouse, and at no time should both doors be open. After entering through the first door, there should also be a foot bath with about 20% bleach solution or some other disinfectant that will help to get rid of unwanted pathogens off the shoes. So with the first door closed and foot washed, the second door can then be opened to the crop. Insects are not the only danger to plants. Climate conditions also pose a risk. So plants in most greenhouses are grown in a controlled temperature environment. This is adjusted with the aid of shade screens. These retractable screens block out excess sunlight or let in more as the need arises. The shade screens can also be programmed in automated mode, and as the sensor detects the temperature inside the house, the screen will automatically open. Plants grown through protected agriculture are also kept at a moderate temperature by airflow fans, which help with the circulation of air around the greenhouse. The irrigation process is another important area of protected agriculture. All this is monitored through a timer system that allows for manipulation of the entire nutrient feeding process. Now, in the protected agriculture environment, if farmers manage their crops well, the yield and quality will be much better, and the result? Less spoilage and more revenue. So if you are considering going into agriculture, or you are already in the field, here are a few benefits of protected agriculture to consider. It gives good production when compared to normal farming. Humidity can be controlled, thus eliminating the breeding of pests. Crops can be grown throughout the year, and the greenhouse gives protection to plants against weather conditions that can damage or influence growth. For further information, you may contact the Bodles Research Station of the Ministry of Agriculture at 983-2281 or 983-2267.
Boosting production through improved infrastructure, achieving growth in consecutive quarters, effecting measures to ensure food safety while protecting the livelihood of farmers. On Wednesday, January 14, get the details right here on Jamaica Magazine. It's the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries 2014 Year in Review. If you missed any of our features today or want to watch them again, just log on to our website, jis.gov.jm. And here's a reminder to join us tomorrow for a review of the work done by the Ministry of National Security in 2014. We welcome your feedback, so keep sending your comments to Jamaica Magazine at jis.gov.jm or via tweet at JIS News. On behalf of the production team, I'm Carrie Ann Smith. Have a pleasant evening.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.